Dun 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 dun. Banana. I'm part of the Andrew Marr film crew.
It was an early start this morning. We got up at about 5 and we spent the night just outside of the area where Cradle Mountain is. That's the target for this morning. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, so if you need a website, a domain or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. So an early start, we drove into the car park and hiked up Mount Campbell, which is one of the mountains that's just dotted around the lake where Cradle Mountain is. Very, very cold. Probably one of the coldest mornings I've experienced. Lips are finding it tough to spit out those words. Lots of ice around and quite calm, not too much of a breeze. There's a little bit of a breeze, but not too much. It's not too uncomfortable. I'm struggling with batteries as well because I wasn't able to recharge the batteries overnight, and of course with the cold weather those batteries are starting to lose their power a little bit quicker, something I don't normally experience or have to worry about. I've come up with Andrew, who's just below me down there, and Richard, who is up there somewhere. So we've hiked up and we haven't actually made it all the way to the summit. It actually got quite dangerous. We got up to a point where it just was iced over everywhere. So we just thought, let's get up to a point where we've got a couple of flat points where we can get the tripod up, and we've got a beautiful view over the lake across the Cradle Mountain. There's a couple of different options I've got here. At the moment I'm at in portrait mode with the 24-70. I'm zoomed in. I've got the lake at the bottom of the image and Cradle Mountain, the two peaks of Cradle Mountain just in the middle. I've got a little bit of foreground. I've got the edge of the lake, or the ridge of the mountain, however you see it. That's coming in from the right hand side, leading the eye around, and then the lake leads the eye further around, and then of course you've got the peaks in the background. That's what this image is all about, those peaks. The other exciting thing is we've got a little bit of snow dusting on the peaks, which is going to be nice, and the sun has just come up. Sunrise is around about now, so I'm going to put the vlogging camera down, take a few shots, and I'll show you the results. So I've tried a few things. I started off, as I said, in portrait. I've now got the camera in landscape. I'm still shooting with the 24-70. On the front I've got the mount with the polariser, and that's able to just cut through some of the glare that is coming off that lake. I've also dropped in a 0.9 soft graduated filter. Before I did that, I bracketed a few shots just manually with a few different shutter speeds to be able to get an exposure right for the foreground, the mountains and most of the foregrounds in shadow, and then another one for the peaks at the top there, and then of course another one for the sky. There's a little bit of cloud just drifting across the ridge and pouring over kind of into the lake, and the sky needs its own exposure to be able to pick all the detail out there. So that's what I did for the first shot. Then I swapped over and put the camera into landscape, still with the 24-70, dropped in the 0.9, and that enables me to balance that light out. So because the sky is brighter, I put the 0.9 in, that darkens down the sky, cuts out that light. I'm able to bring up my exposure then and not lose that detail in the light, and it enables me to get the detail in the foreground. Two ways of doing it, two completely different images. There's no reasoning for why I did one over the other. It's just the way that I shot them this morning. So it's later in the day, and Richard and I have been exploring for the day around Dove Lake, which is the lake in front of Cradle Mountain. And we've been looking for some interesting compositions to try and gain some interest in the foreground. So either some foreground interest, some leading lines, or in the case of what I found here, a little bit of framing. So I've used the tree. I'll just bring you around here. You can see this dead tree just on the side here. I've got a little plant just there, and then I've got another bush with some dead twigs just down here. And I've been using that as my frame. If I come around to where the camera is, I'll show you what that looks like. So that's around about where the camera is, and you can see the framing. And I'm a little bit lower down, so I've got more of that framing in, and I've got Cradle Mountain in the background, which is those two peaks there make up Cradle Mountain. The weather has changed significantly this afternoon, so we've had bright skies for most of the day until around about 2 hours ago. Then the clouds started to roll in, and now we've got this fairly thick mist which is actually coming through. So that's why you can't make out Cradle Mountain in the background all that easily, because the mist has started to come over Dove Lake. And that's fine, because I've actually already taken my shot. I've been just taking my time finding the foreground interest, and then once I've found this framing here, I tried a few different things. So first of all, I bracketed a series of shots because I wanted a shot that was a long enough exposure to pick up the details in the shadows of the bushes that are framing this. And then I wanted another shot that exposed for, I suppose, the darker hills that you can see behind me here. Then I took another shot that exposed for the snow on the peak of Cradle Mountain. And then I did another one for the sky, which was ever changing. It was quite significant. There was breaks, so therefore I was getting blues, and then the cloud would roll in and block out the sun, and so it would be a little bit darker. So I had to mess around a little bit with the shutter speed, and but finally I got an exposure. So out of those 4 exposures, I'm going to take them into Lightroom and take the parts of the image that I need to have a fairly evenly exposed image. So what I decided to use was the 17 to 35. I've got that quite wide because I'm capturing as much of the framing that I've set up here as I possibly can, and then it just leads into the image. So I think it's quite an interesting shot. I've got this framing first. I've got the roots that are actually underneath the water that leads the eye into the image, with the framing around it, and then I've got a series of mountains in the background, and of course right in the middle I've got Cradle Mountain. There it is there, and as you can see Cradle Mountain is almost completely covered in mist. So that's how fast it's disappeared. So that's it guys, we've finished up for the day. It's been a long day. It was an early start this morning at 5, an exhilarating walk up to the top of Mount Campbell, and then of course a relaxing walk around the Dove Lake before settling on an image to finish the day off, which I think is fantastic. We're going to pack our stuff up, we're going to head back to the van. We've got tea to sort out, and then we've got to work out exactly where we're going to spend the night. Thanks once again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. It's great to have their support on this channel. If you don't know who Squarespace are, they provide a great online platform that makes it really simple for you to create your website. They give you a range of templates to start off with, and of course you can customize how it looks and feels. Go to squarespace.com for a free month trial, and if you do go ahead with a website, make sure you go to squarespace.com/Andrew Marr for 10% off your first purchase. So if you like this video or the images that I captured, make sure you give it a like. If it's your first time to my channel, check out my other videos, and if you like landscape photography, then why don't you consider subscribing if you haven't already. But until next time guys, thanks very much for watching.